So, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the podcast. So, we are obviously here to talk about Cristian's upcoming album, Hollywood E Sycamore, which comes out September 25th on Coconut Bay, Chesky Records. So, Cristian, how excited are you for your first solo project?
I'm pretty excited, man. It feels totally weird answering that question to you, the guy that, was like, hey, you want to make an album? But I'm excited, but, I'm fucking nervous too, dude, It's the most different thing I've ever done, that's for sure. Even though I messed around with this kind of like mellower stuff in the past, it's pretty nerve-wracking, I ain't gonna lie, Like before we put out the first single, it was nerve-wracking. There was like a week where I couldn't even sleep. And then now getting closer to the release date, I'm pretty sure that week is going to be like a bad sleep week too. But, I'm not even complaining about it. It's just a natural human instinct,
And new release week is always hectic.
So it's natural human instinct. I'm nervous about it.
So a little background that I don't know. How did you all get to know each other?
The LA music scene, man. I mean, I met Conrado through a friend, Adasi, who's a musician, in the area, who was also always like super supportive with like, hey man, do things, don't, do things, write music, do what, he would always like push me to like do things. That's how I met Conrado. And Steven was
Cradle Filth show.
Shows. Yeah,
we met like because you guys share like a sound guy, Danny B or something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Was it the Machine show or the Cradle of Filth show where we met?
We met at Cradle of Filth, and then I ran into you like a week later at the Roxy, and I was like, hey, I guess we got to be friends now. Yeah, because you're there with Conrado, and I've known Conrado from the scene as well, and
you guys knew each other though, right?
We know for like LA scene, I guess, just different bands, same venues, that kind of situation,
But never like a hey, let's actually talk. Just what's up, man?
And you guys lived like a block. You guys lived like a block away from each other. I remember being like, being
in Hollywood.
Wait a second.
On Hollywood and Sycamore.
You guys lived like right there.
The fun when you suggested that the album title was going to be Hollywood E Sycamore, my thought was like, I've been to LA a lot, and I'm like, isn't that a Buffalo Wild Wings? Like Cristian just really loved Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings was on in the Live Nation building.
Legit, it was.
Yeah. I guess we can't call it Buffalo Wild Wings, so maybe for him that's the next best thing, and he loves himself.
Was that a Chesky meal you had at Buffalo Wild Wings, Jeff?
No, but actually I have a bunch of friends that live in Hollywood, so that's typically where I stay when I go there. So like when you said the intersection, I knew exactly where that was. I'm like, huh.
Yeah, that's me.
I mean, when you think about it, it's like because the theater is right down the block, the Chinese theater. Literally, it's like one of the top 5 spots in LA that people go to have to go see or walk. At least that area. So it's kind of like what I got from it when I was staying with you, Conrado. All I remember seeing tourists every single day.
Yeah.
Some dude shot at somebody and they all scattered.
Just across the road. Yeah, that was a little intense. Yeah. It was a very happening neighborhood.
I remember I was smoking out your window, and when that shit happened, and I was like, oh my God, I might have seen somebody get shot and I wouldn't even know.
Yep.
So what was it like for 3 LA guys to fly out to New York to do the recording this time?
For me, it was fun, man. I love traveling. How was the experience for you guys?
For me, it was dope. It was my first time in New York, so that was very exciting. I've never been there before. I toured, other cities, other states in the country, but somehow New York was just never in the cards for me until then. So it was very, very enjoyable experience. The city's amazing, and the album came out great. It's fun.
Yeah,
that's why I remember now that we did a little bit of sightseeing the day after the recording.
Yep.
We did. We saw like the whole damn state like in one day. It felt like it was cool. It
was like, hurry up.
Yeah, exactly. It was cool. Like I think that's what made us really feel like we were doing something special was that we were traveling for it, and that we did it at Bunker Studios in Brooklyn, and it just kind of solidified the significance of it. I thought it was cool. you know, and I never really hung out in New York or that area for an extended period of time, just on traveling or something like that. So it was pretty cool. You know, I feel like it brought us all together for the recording, especially since it was like all live and all that stuff. I feel like it kind of set the mood. It was cool.
Still felt like musically risky to go somewhere else to do it, but like you said, it was pretty much like, okay, it's time to come together now. It's
Exactly.
happening.
Yeah.
I think there's a unique element to the fact that the console that was at the Bunker Studio is the one that you had mentioned was on. Was it Revolution, or was it Confession?
Yeah, on Confession. Yeah. I mean, that was a little bit of a shock because that console. The funny thing about that console is that it was at a studio called Water Music, and that console in 2012 wound up underwater. It was in Water Music. I don't know if you guys remember I think it was Hurricane Sandy. Was that the one that devastated the East Coast?
Yeah, that flooded Water Music.
Okay. So it was Hurricane Sandy. And the part of Hoboken that Water Music is in is one of the below sea level parts. Hoboken is this town basically built almost, not almost, but it has the similar elevation to New Orleans, where the rivers are higher than the actual streets in some of the places in the town. And the Hudson River is literally right there. So when the Hudson River floods and when all the drains are flooded, parts of Hoboken are knee deep in water. And, you know, it's something that they've been dealing with for God knows how long, probably 100 years. They still have like no way of properly draining the water. They've now like built parks with draining systems underneath it and stuff like that. But in 2012, it was a disaster. Every time a hurricane came, the whole town was underwater. And it just happened to be Water Music just got lucky and never got hit that bad. But that console wound up underwater, but it's so goddamn expensive, they can't just throw it out. You know? They can't just like be like, throw this thing out. It's like $1 million console. Of course, they're gonna take all the components out and, you know, refurbish the whole thing. But knowing that it had gone through that and it was a console that was at Water Music was pretty cool.
So have you recorded like How Can I Live twice in the same console?
Yo, How Can I Live got recorded twice through the same console.
There you go.
You know, I'm not sure what preamps we were using and all that stuff, but, you know. That's the fact that it's alive, that console is alive and it was there was definitely like, oh shit, this is badass. It's a legit studio.
I'm curious for you guys, since so much of the album was done. Since so much of the album was done live, how different that was for you guys as opposed to what you're typically doing in the studio.
Woo! Night and day, bro.
We just all just laugh.
You guys go first. You guys
a humbling experience. And the thing is because it was acoustic. So like as a guitar player, you're so bare bones, and acoustic playing is much harder than electric playing because I think of like electric guitar playing as like an action movie. You got explosions, CGI, all this cool stuff to kind of like impress you. And of course, like guitar playing in general is important, but like acoustic playing is like, cool, here's a storyline. The storyline has to be good. You don't have anything to kind of take away from it.
Like the book.
Yeah. It's Unforgiven. So, you know, it was a learning experience. It was really cool. I feel like it made me a better musician to sit there and be basically like bare bones with acoustic and, you know, click in one ear and Conrado saying, hey, stay on the click.
Stefan. I remember we called Steven Stefan the whole time we were in New York. We don't know why. I forgot why it was, but no, it was a
joke back then.
Stefan and Urkel. That's right.
Yeah.
That was a joke.
I remember when we first got the project going, because I mean, Conrado and I recorded an acoustic song like 3 years ago, you know, and this was back then. We were like, maybe this is something we should try, you know, do some acoustic stuff. But when it came time to do the album, I remember telling Conrado, like, dude, it's easy. It's acoustic guitar.
Yeah, that's what we all thought.
And then, like, you know, two, 3 rehearsals in, we were like, fuck, acoustic guitar's harder.
Yeah, where's our distortion?
Play all the notes right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Conrado? What was it like for you, man?
It was pretty tense. I mean, it was a great learning experience. I feel like I became a much better musician after that. And I think like the final result, it definitely has like a different feel. It has like there's something about musicians jamming in a room, just interacting with each other. Even if you had the click, just everybody kind of vibing from the feel of everybody, and just you pull a little bit there, drag a little bit here, and then you kind of lock in and find the groove. It's not like, because nowadays music's everything's like quantized, and you chop it up and you edit and you drag it this here, drag it there, and I don't know. The final result, just having that human element there, I think made it very special. But yeah, it was challenging for sure. I mean, just the dynamic you have to have just playing guitar. I mean, how do you make some parts stand out? You got to play it louder, You have to pick it harder, there's just not.
Right. Like
yeah.
You started getting a little creative with the sound. I remember because of the dual mic thing, then they put in an amp, acoustic in order to make it louder in the room.
Yeah, I had to use like a guitar amp on the clean, and we both had like volume pedals, so we could boost a little bit. It was very interesting because that's how they used to make records back in the day, right? With everybody in the room, and that's how you mix an album. That's how far you place the musicians, and so just to experience that was definitely great,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was definitely next level for sure. I mean, seeing the focus you guys had was like, whoa, it was like eye-opening for me to see, because you got, everybody having to be in the same room, and really, I think the mental obstacle of like, you only get 4 chances at getting this right with everyone in the room. Just the mental obstacle of knowing that you're not going to get to punch in after this, or you might not get to like, hey, let me fix this after we're done or something, that's probably the hardest thing.
While also keeping the emotion intact, and especially on the vocal, the whole thing is you can hit the right notes but not have the right feel, and then at the same time a person can hit the right feel, not the right notes.
For me, it was incredibly challenging. I mean, I personally feel, we all personally felt when we left, like, man, I wish we would have had like another week of rehearsing of all of us together.
Yeah, we did that all like in
3-4 days. But then again, I can't lie, having to come together and really like put it together and have 3 days, we had extra rehearsal days, but to really record it, to have to come together and have to say, okay, we're going to capture everything we need within this time. It does add like this, your musicianship survival instinct comes into play, I think, at that point, and definitely to see like the survival instinct of you guys and like, fuck, okay, we're making this happen. It was intense and inspiring to say the least, dude.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was spontaneous too. Like you're saying, Chris, is that we met Ali and Junior Terry, the violinist and the upright bass player, basically the day of. And I remember Conrado saying, "Hey, here's the key of the song. Here's a modulation here," and basically like helping them write out some of the sheet music for it. And I think that the cool thing about your record, Chris, is that it's a combination of preparedness and also spontaneity. You know what I mean? Because basically, here it is, cool. Now let's just see what happens. Let's put all these ingredients, shake it up, and see what comes off the oven. It was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. That's part of like maybe what made music before there was multi-tracking and endless time in the studio and stuff like that. That's probably what it was. It's, you write a song, and with the musicians you put it together, and the chemistry comes into play as to how cool it really comes out. It could be a disaster, but if the chemistry is solid, it could really elevate the music to another level for sure. I mean, for me, I was like, fuck, man. In my head, I was like, oh, are we really going to capture all this, Like, it almost seemed unfathomable that we were going to, like, get what we needed within, like, 3 takes. How many takes? What's the most takes we did of a song, Jeff? I don't even remember.
I would say probably 4 or 5 on the ones that we went back through a second time.
Okay, because there was like 2 songs, right? That we came in, we did the first day, and then the next day, we kind of felt like we caught a vibe, and the chemistry was solid by the end of the first day, and then we were like, all right, we probably want to do those 2 over tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, with Chesky specifically, which has been a lot of historically jazz, classical, singer-songwriter type releases. The 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 process has sometimes been so far as we'll even do 5 albums over the course of a week.
Oh,
So
Wow.
so it is a lot of get in there, hammer, try to find the magic as best you can, and and then we move on to the next project. So there becomes a degree of, I don't want to say pressure, but there's, when you rise to that challenge, there's something there that's not there when you spend 6 months on something and it's technically perfect. There's something that we sort of force into the room, if that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. It's almost like you may lose a little bit of the human element, depending on what kind of music you're doing. It may be okay. Like with industrial music, it's okay to not have a human element there. For sure, for this kind of stuff that we did, I think it was an amazing idea to do it this way. You know.
And this being a little bit more of a blend of what we call a traditional multi-track recording and what traditionally Chesky does, which is one microphone, one day. It's a hybrid between the two, trying to find what's best to fit that specific music. So while there's a couple of microphones on the entire band, there is still the freedom of the vocals on a separate mic, so it gives you the freedom to do different things. So I think it's a great balance of the things that we have, as a label, have historically done, and what you have historically done, coming from the multi-track hard rock big band style of recording.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but definitely your label works with such badass jazz artists, man. Like these are like some of the most talented musicians that can exist, you know? It's not like you could say they're great. No, it's like some of the musicians you guys work with are as talented as you can be at an instrument.
Yeah,
Maybe
Allie and
people better than them, but it's not many that can be better than the kind of musicians that you guys work with. It's what allows you to go into a studio and say, today we're going to capture an album with these musicians playing all together, you know, because the musicianship level is so beyond what most, I mean, and I'm not knocking rock musicians at all, because the talent you guys have is amazing. Having to do it with other musicians in the room and not have the accessibility to like multi-track is a different kind. It's and an acoustic guitar. It's a whole different thing. It was like a completely different animal.
Yeah. I was like,
but
here,
I'm sure for the jazz musicians, it's like, oh, okay, it's just another day in the studio. We can knock this out.
Yeah.
Like Ali and Junior, what was it like?
That was inspiring, man.
Yeah.
Those two guys, Jesus Christ, like great musicianship, amazing. You know, it was funny. I remember, like, and again, it's like, you know, it's not about being better or worse. I mean, I'm not a believer of that on art, but like, just the whole school. I remember, like, when we presented the notation of the violin parts we had for Ali, and he was like, just like, you know, looking at it and singing it, and it was just perfect. It's like, yeah, that's it. You didn't even have the violin. It was just like, okay, and you know, and singing on the right key and all that. And so, oh, you guys do half step down, and he's like, start singing half step down. I was like, Jesus, you know, it's like, it's definitely
It's almost like the instrument is in his brain.
Exactly.
So just do the job to put it on the instrument.
So yeah, no, it was definitely a very, very pleasant working with such talented group of musicians. I mean, you know, you two included, of course, Chris. You as a songwriter, has been an inspiration for me since back in niño and all that. But like, you know, having Junior and Ali too, and even having like David Chesky on the board, man, no pressure, huh? But like having
right?
a world-class piano player there, like judging your performances, I was like, oh god.
when he got monitors, piano, it was like, holy shit.
I remember he told me having like a world-class jazz piano player there, like, okay, all right, guys. I was like, yeah.
The best was like every time he would come on our monitors, I was like, he'd like, all right, guys, great take. But let's do this one more time. I was like, oh.
How about a couple of times? A couple of times after a take, a couple of times after takes in several songs that we had to do more than 2-3 takes. I remember him saying, "It sounds great, guys, but I don't think the vibe is there yet." And like, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard a producer say that to me.
Wow.
I don't know if ever, maybe once or twice I've heard that making a rock album, you know? But for a producer to say, it sounds great, but the vibe is not there yet, meaning the chemistry, you know, the intention, everything else, that's the human element, if you think about it.
Right. That's like we were getting to about sometimes when you're doing it with the more condensed timeline, it becomes okay, you're hitting the notes right technically, but you're so worried about hitting the notes that you're forgetting, the feel, the whatever it is that song made you feel when you were writing it. Remember that, and then the vibe will come with it. And then also make sure that you're hitting the right notes. But
one thing that I wanted to ask Conrado and Steven, what was it like when Junior came in? And because we had been rehearsing the songs, you know, it's not like I reinvented acoustic music with the chord structures. You know what I'm saying? I don't think anything we did, we were trying to reinvent acoustic music. It's just it's a different approach, so it may sound unique. But when Junior came in and started putting all the passing tones in the bass lines, where we had, you know, in our heads, I had been like, okay, it's D, E, you know, G, C, A. He came in and put all the passing notes, and that definitely threw me for like a loop. I was like, holy fuck. Like he put like jazzy passing notes in the acoustic chord progressions we were using that were really super simple. So hearing that to me was almost like, I don't want to say challenging, but it was like, oh shit, hold on, let me rethink this for a moment because it's totally different. I'm not used to hearing passing notes like that on the bass.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I think, I wouldn't say truly off, but like, I feel like things definitely at first when it got Oscar, that was a whole different thing. I think I started feeling the album when we first got Oscar, like having the grooves, because I think Oscar really did an amazing job and he killed it on those grooves. And like, man, he was playing some greasy ass Latin grooves. And I was like, oh my God, that shit's so hot. And, but then once I saw like him and Junior really kind of coming from the same background of Latin jazz and really kind of grooving together and making that move, I mean, it's like, wow, the whole thing took a whole different proportion, you know? And that's when I felt like kind of clicked, you know? Like,
with the
oh, okay.
rhythm, like with Junior's rhythm.
Yeah, when Junior and Oscar were like locking in on those like spicy ass, greasy Latin grooves and super heavy and, you know, nice, both amazing musicians, I was like, okay, it was great. And then again, that with your beautiful songs on top of it, which has like an alternative rock feel to it, and you know, but you do flirt with Latin on your melody. So I thought it was like a very unique final product, and that's why I'm super excited about it. I think like all those elements together really kind of worked very well, and you know. Anyway,
And there was some different adjustments you guys had to make, right? Like once Junior started playing, there was some adjustments we had to make in the studio.
Yeah.
What notes we were playing. I can't remember what songs we wound up having to fuck around with because of some of the passing tones and things
right.
Junior was playing.
I think Bring You Home, we had to basically change the whole game plan we had it. I remember Bring You Home when we brought it to the studio. I mean, like when you brought it to us, you arranged it one way, you know, you brought the song and we were like all excited about it and you demoed, the demo was good and all that. But then I know when we brought it to the studio, because of the bass line and the percussion, and then I think Mr. Chesky, David, he suggested, I was like, okay, maybe you guys should do like this and like that. And then we start rearranging the song right at the spot and became more like a finger picking type of situation more than strumming. And we start changing some chords and some voices and stuff. And the whole song took a whole different turn, which, you know, it actually sounds great. I really like it. It's one of my favorites in the album. And,
yeah, me too. That was the one where David was like, all right, maybe for this song we can strip away some more.
That was the one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
be curious, what is
And he
everyone's
was
favorite
like
song?
saying, like, and he was also saying like, okay, for this one everybody needs to play quieter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, what is everyone's favorite track off the new record?
Go ahead, Chris. First.
Mine is Good Mother. You know, it's like the old school chord progression. It's got that small chromatic movement in it, and the lyrical content is personal and endearing to me. And it was a song that I worked on with Conrado and Steven. We, threw around different chord progressions. Steven added a chord progression to the song that really I thought brought it to a new level, and Conrado added a bridge that I thought brought the song to a new level. So as a musician, it was refreshing to like have like, oh, this song grew really, like it really became something so much more than I could even ever have imagined. I just imagined a simple song with one chord progression. And then, once we worked on it, it turned out being something really special.
Yeah, I think my favorite songs would be Better You Know. Because I remember we were like practicing and like working on songs in my living room. And then from like day one, I'm like, oh, the songs are really, really cool. I love all the songs, but I think Better You Know and maybe the Post Malone one, because I wasn't really familiar with them.
Blame it on me.
But I was like, that's pretty cool. Yeah, probably the Post Malone and Better You Know. And then, like Chris said too, it was really cool to like work on that song, Good Mother, and Conrado adding his coolness to it really made it stand out.
There's a couple. It's very hard to pick. I think definitely Good Mother had like has a special feel for me too, because that one we kind of wrote them more together than the other ones. The other ones, like Chris, a lot of the other ones, Chris just brought it up, and we arranged it and we discussed it and all that. But they were primarily his songs and they were ready. And that one had like a band vibe to it. The other one, like Corajon and Un Cajon, because that was like started with one of my riffs and then we co-wrote it together. So that was kind of nice. It's different because sometimes as a musician, like, I think you have, like, I might have like a favorite song that I like to play more, but like some of the ones I like to listen more. I mean, but then again, when I remember like when Chris showed me like Die Alone, he sent me to me and I was like, oh, fuck, this is it, It's like,
Totally.
It just kind of, I liked everything. I liked the songs, Better You Know too. Especially, I love the upright bass bowl thing that the Junior did, and it's amazing. But when I don't know, it's hard to choose because I'm emotionally attached to the other ones because I was most part of it. But then when Chris sent me like Die Alone and I heard it, I was like, this just was right. That's a very strong song. So I don't think I answered the question.
Better You Know has the bow, right? Better You Know has the bow. Is that the one that
Better You Know has the bow? Yeah.
It was funny because when Junior did the bow, I remember we were like, hey man, maybe a couple other songs you could do the bow on. But he's such a badass, talented musician that he's like, that's too simple to do the whole time. Or something like that. Or he was like, but with the bow, I can't carry the rhythm. I want to carry the rhythm or something. I forgot what it was that he said.
Yeah.
I'd be curious.
But the whole album has that really awesome vibe, where it's not headbanging music, it's not moshing music, but, because in my head I was trying to think like, what kind of album did we make? Because I'm so used to making moshing albums, headbanging albums, that I'm like, what kind of album did we make? And the last week I've been realizing, oh, well, we made an album that you meditate to. We made an album that you listen to at the park if you're like celebrating somebody's birthday. We made an album you could listen to with your kids. We made an album you could listen to while you're driving, things like that. But I think it's got like a cool chemistry, and I think the genuine quality about it kind of shines through on it, which is hopefully the thing that'll connect with people. I mean, I don't, it's a tough music industry for sure, and it's different than what I've done before, but the feedback so far has been really, really great, even from people that mostly listen to rock and roll. I knew we were doing killer tracks that people that listen to acoustic music or listen to just music in general would go, fuck, this is really good. And that actually has been the best response that I've gotten, is from people that never heard anything I've done before.
Mhm.
Those are the people that actually are the most kind of taken back by what it is that we did. But I wanted you to answer that, Steve, too, because you are like just metallic, you know, and pretty
Metallica.
much, yeah, you're like Metallica. You know?
Yeah.
So what was it? Did you realize like, oh shit, I'm playing on something that's not Metallica?
Yeah, I was bummed when we were going to play Harvester of Sorrow. Well, the thing is, it's like Conrado said, it's very eclectic. So it might, some parts, I mean, you can be a softer record, but still be heavy, because the heavy's in the dynamics, the emotion that's going on, or the message that you're conveying to your listener. But musically, it's, I think we're not just playing cowboy chords the whole time. So I think that some parts might be a little too busy for your average acoustic listener who wants like easy listening music. But then some parts of the record are maybe too soft for someone who likes to rock. So we're really floating in this really kind of interesting space of like, either you're going to like it or you won't. But I think there's something there for everyone, because as Conrado said really well, it's jazzy, it's Latin, it kind of has like a little bit of folk vibe on a couple songs. And, it has, of course, you having a history as being a performer, in that moment in American music, with El Niño. It has that, as Conrado said, that kind of alternative rock radio sound as well. So there's like all these little, ingredients in it that I think give it its identity, which is important. It's better to be too weird than not weird enough. You know what I mean? But I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. No, it's great, man. I think the record's awesome. I'm very thankful to be part of it and everyone who's involved. And it's like Conrado was saying too earlier, the songs went from kind of like a jam vibe to just the three of us playing our guitars, to when Oscar Santiago came in. It had some meat potatoes to it. Then Junior came in, and then Ali came in. It's like, whoa, like this is legit now. So it's cool. I think it's a really cool record. I'm really stoked that we all got to do it.
And so to close it out, can each of you sort of talk about where people can find you? Obviously, you can't, with people not out on tour, websites, social media, things where people can go find you, follow what you're up to. Obviously, check out when Christian's record's coming out, but just sort of plug your things while we have everyone.
Chris, go for it, man.
Well, I mean, you could find the album September 25th everywhere. And most of the people that are going to be listening to this are probably sick of me promoting it on my social media already. So September 25th, I'm going to keep promoting. You're going to see it every other day. So, I'm sorry if I'm being a pest and like, hey, I have an album, but we made something cool. So, whoever's listening, I'm going to keep pushing it. You'll hear me keep saying it's coming out. Here's the link. Buy it if you can. But you guys, what are you guys up to? Because, I mean, you guys, did the project and we're in this project together. But, I mean, you guys have like your own personal musical shit going on constantly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just I work with a kid named Britt Buchanan, who is a runner-up on The Voice. I do some work with him, and I do like a lot of session work right now, and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I'm on social media sometimes, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Conrado?
Right. For me, I've been busy doing sessions, working with different artists, worked with Zayn Malik, that was One Direction, a lot of classic rock artists, have my own band going on out of the woods. But I'd say the best way to keep up is definitely just Conrado Pesinato on everything. Instagram, Conrado Pesinato, YouTube, Conrado Pesinato, Twitter, Facebook, all that. Just all together, no dots.
You're lucky you got a unique name, man.
I know, man. I know.
The same.
Yeah. That's all social media is the same. I don't need no dots. I don't need no numbers, no official, no anything. It's all together.
Like Steven had 2 underscores in his Instagram. It totally threw me off. I'm like, who the hell has 2 underscores following each other?
I know. I
you
gotta
put
fix
one
that.
underscore, but 2 right next to each other.
I know, man.
People.
I know. My college professor would be infuriated. Gotta fix that.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jeff.
Stay safe out
Thanks for
there.
having us, man.
All right, fellas. Be good, man.
Shame our bones. We both act like we both should bleed. the things that you showed. There's so much that we both could have done.